most of the time organizations either overlearn or underlearn. This is very new to many people. Underlearning, yes, people know, but overlearning is something which people actually don't look at. What overlearning is, you learn too much and you have little space to implement whatever you learned. The one is in a very formal way, the other is in a very informal way. Formal way is where you can create strategies. For informal way, you can only create culture.
Welcome to the Thought Feed by Inspirus Solutions Limited. Any organization today demands competitiveness and a continuous learning process. So, as they say, learning never stops, right? So, we have Abinash, our L&D manager, with us to shed some light on how organizations can build this culture and inculcate the knowledge sharing process within employees and how that will benefit each other, at the same time do wonders for the organization as well. So let's dive into the topic. Hi Abinash, how are you doing?
Hello Yami, I'm doing good. How are you today?
Great. So we've had an elaborate discussion on how learning and development plays a huge role.
Yes.
Both personally and professionally.
Yes.
So now when we come to a culture, when we talk about culture of continuous learning, how do you think organizations can help the employees to gain that factor?
Okay, so that is one challenge every organization has. Learning always comes with a price, Yamni. Remember that for all of you. Because whenever a learning comes in, there is always a matter of productivity that always comes along with it. In simple words, I'll try to put it this way. If you want to have a continuous learning organization where people upskill themselves, where people become better versions of themselves to achieve more, to become better, the first thing we always have to do is you have to dedicate a particular pocket of time for that learning, and you have to have another pocket of time for experiment and see whether what they learned is actually implementable or not.
Correct.
So let's say we have 8 hours a day. And generally, it is a 40-hour week for everybody. We work Monday to Friday, 40-hour week. So in 40 hours of work, how many hours are we going to dedicate to learning? First question.
Yes.
And second question, once we finish that learning process, where and how we're going to implement that particular idea or subject that we learned into the actual work people do every day.
Right.
I'll tell you why this is important, because most of the time organizations either overlearn or underlearn. This is very new to many people. Underlearning, yes, people know, because on running targets and scales, people skip their learning classes, their learning schedules. That happens throughout industry, no matter which industry you belong to. Even if you take manufacturing, you take education, you take research and development, wherever you go, people skip their learning in order to achieve their targets, which will help them to have better appraisals in their appraisal cycle.
Yeah, I think that point of time, the priority is more to complete the task and reach targets.
Exactly. But overlearning is something which people actually don't look at. What overlearning is, you learn too much and you have little space to implement whatever you learned.
Right.
So it is like, I am currently driving a cycle. But same time, every day 1 hour, I'm gonna learn how to drive a bike. But after learning, bike is not provided for me to drive. So I'm gonna drive the bike only in my training session and come back, and again I'm gonna saddle up my cycle.
Right.
How does this sound frustrating? So when you overlearn, what happens? Either an employee leaves you because he is now overskilled and he is not given the opportunity to provide that skill into a actual job, or they end up having what we call as a breakdown in their job, which means a person starts feeling like they are more important, but they are doing less important work. They are more skilled, but they are doing less skilled work. The actual problem is the job that they are doing is actually designed based on the skill they had before the training. After the training, you should upgrade their job also. Most of the time, employers miss this part. They keep pushing for excellent training. We do back-to-back training either through self-paced learning or gamification. But after that, we ask them to go to do the same job, same schedule, same skill set, and the same routine in which they do, which makes no sense for anybody who is interested in learning.
Correct. Considering the amount of concentration we have at that point, when we don't get to implement, I guess the things that they've learned throughout, in the process of upgrading themselves, they would have forgotten by the time it should be implemented.
Yes. So if you want to have a healthy organization where continuous learning happens, first you should define how much you want to learn or how much the employee needs to learn. Because learning is a very tricky area where some people can learn pretty quick and some are slow learners, like how it was in school.
Correct.
Teachers had to adjust their curriculum cycle according to everybody in the classroom. The toppers will grasp a topic within a stipulated 40-minute period, where an average student had to do it 3 times, 4 times again and again to understand it properly. The same is applicable in office. So if you are trying to skill people, if you're trying to teach them, do not expect everybody to learn the same amount of
at the same
content
pace.
At the same pace. So the first thing is we have to fix up how much are we going to learn. The reason why I always suggest you fix up how much you're going to learn is, the basic rule is 80-20. Out of 100 people, 20% is going to be cream, where they are better top performers, and 80% is an average crowd where they want to become top performers. They're inspired by the top 20. The remaining 80 has an inspiration to become the top 20, and that creates or constitutes a healthy team,
right?
Which in turn becomes more and more better every day. Most of the time what we do is we try to create content for the top 20 because they are the benchmarks in industry. Whether it comes to your daily work output, whether it comes to your appraisal benchmarking, whether it comes to your client benchmarking, we always benchmark the top 20 there. So obviously learning comes next to them,
right?
Which makes learning extremely difficult for the remaining 80 because they are already in the race of catching up with the productivity the 20% did.
Yeah,
like we spoke.
that brings out the challenge of self-doubt in them again.
So it's like, imagine I'm competing with the same person on my daily task, on my annual task, and on my learning task, which actually creates more pressure. So what you or what an organization should do is they should first fix up how much are we going to make them better every year.
Right.
It can be a number in terms of number of courses or number of skills required, or even the proficiency of each skill. The best example for you to understand proficiency is language. English, yes, there are proficiencies. First is reading and writing level. Second is speaking. Third is conversation level. And fourth is I can use it as a commandable language. And fifth is I'm like a native speaker. Where if I go anywhere around the world to a person whose mother tongue is English, I can converse with him or her. So there are proficiencies. The same skill is English. So it starts from reading, writing, and it goes to a native speaker. It has 4 to 5 phases. Likewise, if an organization believes this particular skill is important for us to survive in the market for next 3 to 4 years, create proficiency levels and send it according to the skill level of each employee you're going to send them. Don't expect everybody to become a native speaker in English. Conversation level is fine. You can still converse with your clients. You can still make ideas.
As long as they make it meaningful and they understand the responses, I think that should be okay when it comes to language.
Yes. So same you apply to any skill that you see. So in an office, if you're creating for all the learning enthusiasts there, and for all the operational heads or people who are handling team, remember, first fix up your target of how much are we going to teach them. Once you fix up the target, you'll come up with easy numbers. Number 1 is the training hours required. Number 2 is the number of hours required to implement whatever they learned new. Mostly people will easily reject the second point, saying it's like an on-the-job training. I'm learning, immediately I should implement in my job. That is not how it works. Like I told you, the bicycle and two-wheeler.
Right.
I am a person who is a cyclist. I can learn two-wheeler, motorcycle, but provided I am into a motorcycle race, then I'll show my skills. In bicycle, I cannot show my motorcycle skills. It don't work out. So if you're teaching me something, ensure that I have space to implement that. Or else don't teach me that. Better. Concentrate on making my proficiency better. So I'm not learning a new skill, but I'm becoming a better and refined version in that same skill. where I'll be able to produce more in terms of productivity, where I'll be able to make more sense in terms of team's productivity. That will work better. That is the first thing we have to remember when it comes to training culture, setting up an organization, which is make them understand what we are going to teach. And second, again, it's a tricky part. What mode are we going to choose to teach them? Some people are really good in learning when they are left it on their own. I see that now, especially introverts. People who are introverts, they are not comfortable in a classroom type of learning.
Yeah.
But when you give them learning videos, when you give them self-learning exercises, they come out really better.
I have a question here. In
Please.
fact, when you said that each learner has his or her pace and
Yes.
the level of understanding. Now, when we think about this from the organization perspective, do you think the organization has the bandwidth to adjust to the pace of the learner? I mean, who's a slow learner? Because again, there is a demand that those
Yes.
employees also need to
Yes.
pick up and their speed should be more. But they also have a challenge because the employees also have a challenge where they are not able to grasp immediately. And there will be a slight pressure somewhere that, oh my God, I'm not able to figure this out. Why am I taking so much time? Or things like that. So, the question is, will organization be able to understand that factor about those employees? And
That's a very meaningful question. If you have not asked, I would have come to it at the end of the session. But since you have asked it now, I'll finish it now.
Yeah.
This is where your HR team comes in handy. I'll try to put it this way. Learning and development team will first understand the training needs. Then they'll design a program. They'll run the program and they'll try to see the efficiency of the program. But during the designing phase, it is the particular HR talent management wing of the HR where they nurture the talent, be the talent, and they try to understand what the talent needs in terms of emotion, in terms of job, in terms of social understanding, and everything. Because HR comes in a human aspect. So the talent management team should or will have to work with the learning and development team. So it goes like this. Let's say there are 10 people in a team. As a learning officer, before addressing them into the training, I have no idea what they are capable of, what are their achievements are, or where are they lacking, or what are their strengths and weaknesses. This in-hand information is always available with talent management team.
Okay.
Because they manage the talent, they know their strengths and weaknesses, they know their job profile and everything. So what the learning officer should do, or what the TM officer should do, is they should first collaborate with each other to understand out of these 10 who are the top performers. So you design a program for them on their own phase. For the remaining 8 people, for the remaining 6 people, you try to design an individual program. Then you can ask me a question, then what happens to classroom training? Classroom training is for common topics where you first introduce them to a concept. But self-paced learning is where you actually get more knowledge on any particular content. It's basically like reading a book. But you have different tools to read, different tools to learn, different tools to implement. So the TM team and LNOD team should work hand in hand to design this training calendar for every individual.
Irrespective of the number of years of experience that they have. Okay.
Yes. If you do that, what will happen? People will first feel they have a customized learning program, which excites them first. It's not like I'm saying there's a particular training on a particular day, all of you please assemble. And let's say there are 20 people assembling for that program. We'll start with a small program. Let's say email communication enhancement, ECE. When I start the program, I have to start with the basics. Out of 20, 5 or 6 should already know the topic. They're going to feel bored. And they will lose traction when I'm going to teach them the advanced version after 15-10 minutes of the same topic, where they assume that this session is something that I already know.
Yeah.
So, classroom training sessions are extremely good for introducing a topic or creating an interest. But self-paced learning is where you become really efficient in a particular training program. So, the TM team and LNOD team should work hand in hand so that we create a training calendar to avoid this catch-up. where the average people feel left out in terms of productivity as well as in terms of learning. We can easily slash that gap with the help of talent management team. So we can design calendars which will not put unnecessary pressure on learners where they have to prove or catch up, where the actual learning should be fun and exciting rather than trying to prove yourself and catching up with your peers. So that's how it has to be addressed. And I have done it in my career and it has worked out really well. Because whenever we address a learning path, we call it learning path. For example, let's say we're going to put a learning path for critical thinking. So we'll first try to create all the subtopics, or we try to create a program where we know all the small plugins to make this entire big picture. We come up with a timeline. So it takes 32 hours or it takes 48 hours to learn critical thinking at a base level. Then for intermediate level, it takes another 12 hours. To become advanced, altogether it takes 70 hours of learning along with workbooks, exercises, examples, and at times trying to create or solve in a group, a focus group discussion, all this. When you create this, you'll definitely know the fastest time possible and the slowest time possible for the same program.
Okay.
So it's like running. Olympic champions can run 100 meters within 10 seconds. An average person takes around 18 seconds. So you end up keeping the bar in 13 seconds. Where the Olympic person doesn't feel it is very slow, the average person doesn't feel it is unachievable. So the bar comes in between. The same we have to do with training calendar, where people don't feel they are left out. At the same time, the top performers don't feel they are bored. So that's a way to do. You need to incorporate along with the talent management team, and you have to find a way to design it according to each employee.
So that helps these learners also are motivated throughout that period.
Yes.
Because it is that myth of it is unachievable thing is, fading in their minds.
And to add more to that number, unachievable is always correlated with time, Yamini. On any given particular stipulated time, anything is achievable. Let's say once upon a time we thought achieving a communication speed of sending instant messages to anywhere around the world is unachievable. It took a particular period of time for your information to reach anybody around the world.
Right.
But over a period of time, 50 years, 60 years, it is possible today. So when you send a WhatsApp message or a Signal or a Telegram message, it takes less than a second for them to receive it. Sometimes, if both of you are on instant, fast internet, it's less than half of a second. Where I send, you receive it instantly.
Right.
It is possible today, but it took time. So whenever people think it is unachievable in terms of learning, I always say, time is the only thing that is stacked against you. In learning, everything is achievable.
Right.
Time is the only matter of time. So you need to adjust it accordingly and need to optimize the time required so you can achieve it. Obviously, you can achieve it. It goes that way.
One is a learning schedule or calendar, like you said, we can have. What are the other strategies that we can use?
Okay, so there are two more things that I generally follow. There is no fixed number of strategies because it depends. Strategy is basically creativity. You can try any which ways.
Okay.
There are two other methods that I follow. The second one is we ask the participants or the learners to create their own calendar. But that works really well. I'll tell you how it goes. So we pick person A. There are 72 skills required in his particular department. We filter whatever is required for his or her role. Let's say there are 12 skills. We ask them to pick which skill you want to master or you want to learn for this particular year. They pick one. In that, what is the proficiency level you want to achieve? So where are you currently? Where you want to go? And they choose it. Once that is fixed, we give them a learning path based on that. So it is like, I want to become a doctor, okay. Come study MBBS for 8 years. I want to become an engineer, okay. Come study engineering for 4 years. I want to become a literature graduate. Come study BA English for 3 years. The same logic in the reverse way. So you ask an employee what skill they want to improve. And if the skill is entirely new, they can start from scratch. And if they are already aware of it, but they want to become a better or a master version of that particular skill, you give them a time. And based on their selection of skill and proficiency level, you create a training path, a learning path for them.
Okay.
This adds an added advantage where they cannot come back and say this is not achievable because I've decided,
Yeah.
I've chosen. And second one is they are more motivated whenever they choose skill sets instead of the management or the department choosing for them.
Correct.
Because they basically everybody will choose skill sets which will immediately reflect on their job productivity.
So
That
they
is
know
one.
what they need, so they will stick
So
to
they
that.
they always
Right.
want to learn that can make them earn more money. That can make them become a better resource when it comes to promotion or it comes to giving a responsibility of next hand. So people will always choose what will make them better. So that gives them an edge on motivation. You don't have to create motivation artificially there. They're already motivated.
Correct.
So that works out really well. So first is you create a common training calendar, or else second is you ask them to create a particular calendar for them. Third one I always want to implement or I always advocate for it is you have to have a reward system for LNOD, not an award system. And that is very Indian to say.
Okay.
If you take India as a learning community, whenever we orchestrate learning from a company standpoint of view, we always finish it with a certificate.
Correct.
Or we always finish it with a ceremony saying that you have graduated, you have done this, you have done that. Yeah, so it's like I spent 48 hours in this, now I'm left with the paper. What else? But rather, when you create a reward system, it gives them the first dopamine shot of, okay, if I finish this, I'll get 2 days of paid holiday. How does it sound to you, Yamini? Let's say I'm going to give you a course. You are given 70 working days time, which covers almost 2.5 months. You can learn it as in your schedule, but finish it within 70 days.
Right.
If you completely successfully finish it, you can get 2 paid holidays. How does it sound to you?
Yeah, I mean, paid holiday sounds exciting. So nobody says no to a paid holiday.
So try to create a monetary reward system where it motivates people. End of the day, people have to get or have to feel something when they evolve into another person. That is why most companies, when you create a key critical role or key critical skill, they give a salary hike to you in spite of your performance.
Okay.
So let's say you're a developer. If you finish the latest particular version of a particular language that you're already working, you're given 5K increment every month. Just for finishing that, which in turn becomes a 60K reward for you annually. Sounds good. The course itself will cost you only 40K. So you have learnt it, you took the course investment back and you earn on top of it 20K. Imagine how does it sound for a fresher or somebody who's into 2 to 3 years of their cycle. Sounds exciting. Sounds good. But the actual key is I have made them learn something which will make them more valuable to me as an organization.
Right.
So that initial, we generally call it leap of faith. You just have to jump thinking somebody will catch you.
Correct.
So the organizations should create a budget, should allocate something where they are okay to give away rewards for learning, where you won't receive back from everybody who got it. But some will reciprocate, which will become contagious. So it is not like, let's say, if I'm shelling out 15 lakh rupees in appraisal to a team of 10, 1.5 lakhs for each, I can expect more revenue next year. But when you shell out 5 lakh rupees for a team of 10 as a learning reward, you can expect the reward back from 4 to 5 people. The remaining 6 may or may not give you whatever you spent, but it is a good start. You have to do it.
Right.
Because talent drain is something which is happening extremely high in Indian companies now. People just want to go to Canada, Germany, any European country or anywhere where their talent is more valuable. Because unfortunately, we have a currency exchange value where Indian rupee salary is not that great attractive when you are given an offer in dollars or in pounds. Sometimes even UAD, dinars. So if you want to keep your talent with you, yes, you have to spend some money, invest on it. And these are the 3 strategies I would follow. So it is like a bet that you have to make. Because all the younger generation that you're going to have in the next 3 to 4 years, trust me, the first question they always ask is, what is in it for me? They are not grateful for the job opportunity you give.
True.
They are great that you are supposed to have them in their office. It's like you should feel great for me choosing your job instead of another company which gives you more money. Do we have to blame youngsters for that? No. We are looking at a loyalty which was not existing at all. My grandfather joined a company and stayed in that same company because he didn't have a choice. It was not loyalty. People mistake it often. My father had option but still decided to choose. Again, not for loyalty but for security.
Yeah.
I'm with an employer for 5 years. What if I change job now? He may kick me out. I'll stick with this guy. And right now in my generation, I change jobs, but I don't change often. I work with an employer for 4 to 5 years. That's how people in my age, 30 plus, will do. That's a habit we follow generally. But youngsters now don't mind switching jobs within 6 months, 7 months.
I think they also upskill themselves in one way or the other. And
so if you cater a particular road for them where, come on boy, join me, I'll teach you, I'll make you learn, I'll make you earn, in turn, make my company great, they're okay for the deal. They're ready for the deal. They're ready to put everything. So this is a transformation stage where L&D or LNOD should involve reward system. We can no more say, be grateful, I'm upskilling you. No. Upskilling is almost free nowadays. It's almost free, not exactly free, but almost free nowadays. So LNOD should invest more in terms of reward system where people will feel that they are getting something, they're learning something. Once that becomes a habit, without their own intention or consciousness, it will reflect in their job. It's like basically, I'll tell you a small example, cooking. You train somebody in chopping onions faster every day. What is going to happen when he or she cooks? They are going to chop onions faster. Are they going to chop it slower thinking, why should I chop faster? No, it has become a habit. They are chopping it at a particular speed. They will end up chopping it in that speed. The best example I always say is you take veterans, military veterans and police veterans who come out of job. They stick to their physical routine, their physical fitness routine every day, which is not rewarding. But still they stick to it because it has become a habit.
Right.
So when you take somebody who has retired from military, take their colleague in a different field from finance or from IT, this person is far healthier than them.
Yeah.
But it was forced on them, unfortunately. It was forced on them because they took a job which demands physical need to show strength, to show agility. But that has a reflection effect.
Yeah, that became a blessing in their later life.
So, create a reward system where people will reflect that skill in their job, which is going to bring back the money to the company. But the company should take leap of faith. First, they should invest.
Right.
And it will come back. Over a period of time, it will come back bigger. But we just have to hope that it will come back. So, we have to be with youngsters on this one.
Correct.
There are a lot of things that I contradict with youngsters. But in this, I stand by their side. We should reward them. So, they become better and they bring better business to us.
Right. In fact, I recollect one of the points when we were doing an episode with the senior manager, HR, talent acquisition. So that's where we were discussing on the Gen Z aspect. So they are actually looking for something that can give them a fulfillment. So when these kind of options are given, I think they will definitely grab that as an opportunity where it allows them to grow, and not just in one particular aspect, but there's a lot of scope that they see and they involve themselves in.
Yes. See, the problem, I won't say problem, the challenge with Gen Z or the 2K kids, which we locally Indians say, 2K kids or Gen Z in an international lingual. The challenge they always have is they have seen their parents failing miserably over a period of time because they didn't upskill themselves. If you go and talk to people from Gen Z versions, people come from an average family, they are the most numbers. People who come from an average family in India. The one thing they're worried about is no matter how hard my father or my mother worked, still the company kicked them out. My father showed loyalty, but the company didn't show loyalty. So they are coming inside a company with a notion that I am replaceable, which is true.
Yeah.
But still, it is not that toxic or evil that they perceive it to be. So we are going to create an environment where they are coming in with a negative or a wrong notion about a job or an employer. First, we have to make them believe, no, it is not that evil. It is not that bad. For that, to prove that, yes, you have to shell out some money to prove them that, boss, you are fresher, but I'm giving you all these perks. I'm giving you all these benefits. See, it is not bad. Now you do your job. That's the only option you have.
Right. Now that you've shared these 3 important strategies, is there anything in particular that focuses on knowledge sharing?
Wow, that's a good question. So knowledge sharing happens 2 ways in a company. One is in a very formal way. The other is in a very informal way. Formal way is where you can create strategies. For informal way, you can only create culture.
Okay.
So to put it into a brief knowing about it, I'll put it this way. When I say informal knowledge sharing, when you create a positive culture, informal knowledge sharing automatically happens. Where people trust each other, where they work as a team. Instead of individual growth and individual targets, when teams target or teams growth becomes important, that becomes a positive team. So everybody will stand for each other. People will look out for each other. So they'll behave like a team, act like a team, think like a team.
Right.
In that particular setup, knowledge sharing is essential to maintain that setup. Because without sharing knowledge on the business or on the technology or on the client, you cannot behave as a team. So if you want to have informal knowledge sharing, you just have to have a positive team. A team which behaves like a team rather than a team which behaves like individuals who want to behave like a team. So that is an informal way.
Okay.
Formal way of knowledge sharing is you create forums where knowledge sharing is encouraged. Create repositories. You create forums where people have focus group discussion, where people have knowledge sharing events, which generally happens for fraternities in every now and then, right? For HRs, there's a fraternity knowledge sharing happens where leaders of that particular community come, they talk, and all the upcoming people will learn and question and learn more about them.
Right.
So you should create fraternities inside the organization where veterans, or you can even invite speakers from other companies or from the market or consultants to come in and talk and share knowledge. So in a formal way, if you want to introduce knowledge sharing, my first suggestion is create a forum for it, where people will come there, will share knowledge on particular topic or a particular area of expertise, which will help others to learn more.
This could be a webinar kind of a thing
Can be. So don't let technology dictate it. Most people will think webinar is different, group discussion is different. Come on, it is not different. It is a technology. In a group discussion, you're going to put people in a room in a physical form. In webinar, you're not going to do it in a physical form. You're going to take it wherever you are with the help of technology. So too much of giving technical jargons actually makes learning very boring, Yamini. You should make it simple. Don't try to create all technical terminologies to make learning better. The one thing I'm always worried about the learning community is learning managers, people in my position, are forced every day to show that they are doing a good job. So what they do is they end up doing all technical job instead of actual learning.
Can you give us an example?
Okay, let's say I am a learning officer or learning manager. I'm reporting to a human resource head. There are my counterparts. So let's say I'm a learning manager, there'll be a TA manager, there'll be a talent management manager, there'll be a statutory manager. They have a role which is tangible every day. A TA manager can come and throw in a report saying, I've recruited so many, offered so many, onboarded so many, and they're in the system. Good, tick, tick, tick. You take a talent management, I have retained so many people, I've increased happiness and everything. What can I show for an L&D perspective as an L&D manager to show or to give a data that I have achieved something? The only thing that I can show is, one, the training calendar is going as planned, people are learning. Second is, people are implementing whatever they are learning, which is increasing companies' revenue. Again, whatever I'm saying is not easy to measure.
Yeah, that was my next question.
Most part of it is intangible.
Right.
So, first, learning managers should come out of a myth that learning should be measured 100%. No. Learning can be measured, yes, but don't try to measure all that you do into a number, which will make you more a non-friendly person in terms of learning.
Okay.
Learning happens over a period of time. You have to have the basic numbers. How many hours of learning? What are the methods you use? What is the efficiency of your learning? How do you measure effectiveness? Everything is fine, I agree. But don't try to become a number guy being an L&D guy. It will never work out. And most people try to do it, especially learning managers. I tell in my peer group that, boss, please don't do it. Stop it. You're actually doing a bad thing to the entire LNOD organization. Learning is something you can measure, but you should not make it a number game. If you make a learning a number game, you end up doing all technological things instead of making learning the actual experience it should be.
So, what I understand is learning and development will have its own time.
Yes.
To first completely instill what they're trying to deliver.
Exactly.
And it is with the learners.
Yes.
So, like we discussed earlier, each got his own space
so
to give
the
out
learning
things.
officer or the learning manager should be confident in their own content first. They should talk to their superiors saying, boss, it's a learning process. It's not a technical number process where for me to establish a learning pattern, it will take 6 months. We'll have to wait.
Right.
We have to wait, and we'll have to see how the 6 months have drained the trickle down on how learning has become part of their habitual change that they do in the office.
Right.
So when this comes part of knowledge sharing. So when you become too much of a technical person, you become a problem to knowledge sharing. You end up becoming a knowledge imposter. So I'm going to come to Yamini, say, come Yamini, finish 48 hours of learning. Yes, Abinash. Yamini, have you finished 2 certification? Yes, Abinash. Yeah, Yamini, have you completed your professional? Yes, Abinash. Okay, Yamini is done now. Good. Is Yamini really good? Who knows? Yeah. Unless and until Yamini uses that knowledge either to implement in work, which is going to reflect directly back, or else she should at least have the finesse to share that knowledge among her peers. So, Yamini spent 48 hours learning something. She can share that knowledge every day, 10 minutes to her colleagues over a period of time.
But I myself would have probably taken more than 48 hours.
Yes.
Then that's a...
You can take any time, Yamini. It's not a problem. I'm just giving you a timeline.
Yeah.
So, what I generally encourage in any team is, I don't want people from a team to learn same topic. So, in terms of knowledge sharing, if there are 3 people in a team who comes for a learning course, I ask all 3 to study 3 different courses. And then they teach their colleagues informally those 3 courses.
Okay.
That's how you multiply knowledge. There are no other options. Once you give bits and pieces of a knowledge, people will be attracted towards a particular topic. They'll again come and say, Abinash, I too want to learn like Yamini. Give me that course. If all 3 learn the same course, I'm not going to create excitement inside the team. They're going to tell the same information back and back. Abinash is going to talk the same. Yamini is going to talk the same. People who like it will come and again take the course. People who don't like it will not take the course. What if Abinash is talking something and Yamini is talking something different? Some may like my topic, some may like your topic. So I'm trying to create more audience for learning, which every knowledge sharing person should do. And as an L&D person, first thing you should remember in knowledge sharing is be an enabler first. You start enabling knowledge. Then it will automatically be shared. If you don't enable, if you end up being in technical jargon area of your own particular thing, you may impress your boss for some time. Let me be honest. You may impress your boss for some time. But when it comes to result day, you will lose the game. So don't do that. L&D person should not take the road of the number game. I don't suggest it. My mentors don't suggest it.
Okay.
We should take the road of knowledge sharing. We should take the road of change. We should take the road of becoming better version of themselves, which is the actual purpose of an LNOD department in any office.
Correct. So I think this has shed more light on how one is L&D managers should perceive their task, and how every learner is different, how every learner's learning pace is different, and like how he rightly put it, that you cannot put L&D in the number format.
Exactly.
Because it has its own timeline to adhere to. So I think quite insightful points we've got here. We will soon get back with a very connecting topic that would be our personal development plans, and we see how both are interconnected. So stay tuned until then. This is the Thought Feed by Inspirus Solutions Limited. Thank you.
The basic and simple tool for personal development plan I always suggest is do your own SWOT analysis. Another tool is I always say know your blind spot. In psychological counseling or clinical psychology, knowing one's blind spot is where life-changing moments happen. In a workplace scenario, your personal development plan should always go hand in hand with your career plan. What you like can become a hobby.
Right.
What you're good at is what you will make money.